Chapter 2, The Descriptive Marks of the Truth of Ultimate Meaning. At that time, the Bodhisattva Vivita Paripricaka questioned the Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana in the presence of the Buddha and said, "Son of the victor, it is said that all things are not dual. What does all things mean, and why are they not dual?" The Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana answered the Bodhisattva Vidivat Paripricaka and said, "Good son, in sum, things are of two kinds, conditioned and unconditioned. Herein conditioned things are neither conditioned nor unconditioned, and unconditioned things are neither unconditioned nor conditioned." The Bodhisattva Vidivat Paripricaka again questioned the Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana and said, "Son of the victor, what does it mean to say that the conditioned things are neither conditioned nor unconditioned, or that unconditioned things are neither unconditioned nor conditioned?" Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana addressed the Bodhisattva Vidivat Paripricaka and said, "Good son, the term conditioned is a provisional word invented by the first teacher. Now, if it is a provisional word invented by the first teacher, then it is a verbal expression apprehended by imagination. And if it is a verbal expression apprehended by imagination, then, in the final analysis, such an imagined description does not validate a real thing. Therefore, the conditioned does not exist. Good son, the term unconditioned is also invented from language, and it also validates nothing real. Furthermore, besides the conditioned and the unconditioned, any other expression that exists in language is the same. But it might be objected, is it not true that there are no expressions without some corresponding reality? What then is the reality here? I would reply that it is that reality apart from language and realized in the perfect awakening of the saints through their holy wisdom and insight apart from all names and words. It is because they desire to lead others to realize perfect awakening that they provisionally establish such expressions as the conditioned as verbal descriptions. Good son, the term unconditioned is also a word provisionally invented by the first teacher. Now, if the first teacher provisionally invented this word, then it is a verbal expression apprehended by imagination. And if it is a verbal expression apprehended by imagination, then, in the final analysis, such an imagined description does not validate a real thing. Therefore, the unconditioned does not exist. Good son, the term conditioned is also invented from language, and it validates nothing real. Besides the unconditioned and the conditioned, any other expression that exists in language is the same. But some may object. Is it not true that there are no expressions without some corresponding reality? What then is that reality here? I would reply that it is that reality apart from language and realized in the perfect awakening of the saints through their wisdom and insight apart from all names and words. It is because they desire to lead others to realize perfect awakening that they establish such expressions as the conditioned as verbal descriptions. Then the Bodhisattva Vidivat Paripricaka again questioned the Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana and said, "Son of the victor, why is it that those saints, being freed from language through holy wisdom and insight, realizing perfect awakening in that ineffable nature of reality, and desiring to lead others to realize perfect awakening, provisionally establish verbal descriptions such as conditioned and unconditioned?" The Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana addressed the Bodhisattva Vidivat Paripricaka and said, "Good son, One can liken those saints to skillful magicians or apprentices, who, setting themselves up at a crossroads, make things like broken tiles, grass, leaves, pieces of wood, etc., appear to be magical things, such as herds of elephants, horses, chariots, soldiers, gems, pearls, cat's eyes, conchas, crystal, coral, treasure, grain, storehouses, etc. Some people, dull and slow-witted, of perverse understanding and lacking acumen, see and hear those magical things and think that they really are elephants, horses, etc. They tenaciously cling to the verbal expressions that are engendered from what they themselves have seen and heard, thinking only that is true and real, and everything else is false. It is only later that they are forced to change their opinions. Other people, not dull or slow-witted, of good understanding and having acumen, see and hear those magical things and understand that what they see are not really elephants, horses, etc., but rather magical tricks that confuse the eye and cause it to engender the concept of a herd of elephants, the imagined concept of a herd of horses, the many imagined concepts of grain, storehouses, or other magical illusions. They do not tenaciously cling to verbal expressions that are engendered from what they have seen and heard. With them, it is not the case that only that is true and real and everything else is false. But in order to express objects seen and heard, they also follow the accepted language. Afterwards, they do not have to reconsider. In like manner, some sentient beings, foolish and profane, have not yet attained to the transcendent understanding of the saints and are not able to recognize that in all things reality is apart from language. After they have seen and heard about all conditioned and unconditioned things, they think that what they have learned is most certainly really existing conditioned and unconditioned things. They cling tenaciously to the verbal expressions engendered by what they have seen and heard. Only that is true, and everything else is false. But later they must reconsider. Other sentient beings, not foolish, who have gained insight into the holy truth, who have attained the transcendent insight of the saints, do truly understand that in all things reality is apart from language. After they have seen and heard about conditioned and unconditioned things, they think that what they have learned are most certainly not really existing conditioned and unconditioned things. Rather, they are descriptions engendered from imagination and are magical, confused understandings in which one produces concepts about the conditioned and the unconditioned, concepts about whether they exist or not. They do not tenaciously cling to verbal expressions that are engendered from what they have seen and heard, or think that only those expressions are true and everything else is false. But in order to express the meanings they know, they follow the accepted language. Afterwards, they are not forced to reconsider. Thus, good son, the saints, being freed from language through their holy wisdom and insight in this regard, realize the perfect awakening that reality is truly apart from language. It is because they desire to lead others to realize perfect awakening that they provisionally establish names and concepts and call things conditioned or unconditioned. At that time, the Bodhisattva Gambhir Artha Samdhinirmocana related these verses to emphasize his meaning. Buddha's speech is apart from language and is non-dual. Its depths are beyond the sphere of fools. In their idiotic confusion, fools delight in duality and rely upon verbal fabrications. Whether without understanding or with perverse understanding, they will revolve in the suffering of transmigration for a great length of time. They are indeed far from the discourse of true wisdom, and will certainly be reborn as cows, sheep, and so forth.